Everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of the Outlier podcast. I've got Hashim with us. Hey, Hashim, how you doing?
How you doing?
Doing good. I would say happy Tuesday, right? It's a Tuesday afternoon, shiny, bright day, I would say, here in New York. Can't complain. It's good.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Quick introduction who Hashim is. Hashim is a senior vice president. He leads remote service delivery at WESCOM Union based out of California. Uh, Hashim, combined has more than 2.5 decades of experience. Started with financial services in one of the top three banks, and spent almost a decade over there. Then moved on to working for Capital One for a few years. After that, had some interesting moves. He worked for tech. He went to Uber, moved to working for a fintech, and finally found his calling, like all of us. Started joined a credit union, and with one single mission of help people. Because again, I think that's the reason Hashim, all of us are here. That we want to put people above everything, right? And that actually aligns to our interest. He's based out of California with one single mission of helping Californians have a better life, right? In case Hashim have missed something out here, sir, please feel free to go and add.
No, I think you were spot on there.
Sounds perfect. So let's start the show with one question I almost ask everyone, right? So what has been your career journey so far, Hashim?
Yeah. So, you said a lot of it, but, my first 10 years, I worked with a top three bank. I started on the phones while I was working in college. And in those 10 years that I was there, I just continued to learn, and from experience, and was promoted up through the ranks and probably every position, in the bank at that time, all the way up to a unit leader, where I landed there, with the bank. Going back to the last 15 years, the beginning of the last 15 years, I worked at Capital One for 8 years. The largest credit card issuer in the US. And at the time they were becoming a bank. So, I was brought on to lead their remote services and virtual branch, there at Capital One. And there I learned, digital transformation, process engineering, got Greenbelt certified, and got black belt trained in Lean Six Sigma methodology. And that's, it was a pivotal point in my career because I progressed from contact center operations to leading large scale operations. From there, after 8 years, I transitioned to a tech company, Uber, as you mentioned, and also a fintech company in that space. And there I learned speed and global execution, because companies like Uber and fintechs lead global teams across the world. So that was really fun experiencing that. And that brought me to WESCOM Financial, which aligns with my personal mission to put people over profits. And we do this by helping Californians build better lives.
Yeah, that, you know, aligns with your interest, right? That's the reason you moved working with the big guys and finally moving to the credit unions. My next question is, your career includes significant time at like Ubers and the Capital Ones of the world, right? So what outlier approaches or philosophies did you bring from those fast-paced ecosystem? Because even I come from Accenture, pure tech consulting background. Both of us have similar backgrounds in terms of you came from tech giants, I came from tech consulting. So I believe your being outlier resonates from the time you spent there, right? So if you want to talk about the philosophies that you got from those places, that might be a good value addition to the audience out here.
Yeah, yeah. What I would say, at my time at Capital One, I brought, strategic planning, really thinking about, at that point where the customer base is going, and from a technology standpoint, digital transformation was really, really big, at the time. So strategic planning and product management, are some philosophies that I brought from there. And because I'm in the service industry, I learned to treat service like a product, right? So product management around constantly iterating and improving the service, which I considered a product for our customers to, receive better, and faster service from us. So, from there, developing strong process engineering skills, using Six Sigma methodology, At the time, it was an outlier for me because it was a new skill set. But really getting trained and certified and practicing those skills in Six Sigma was this philosophy that I've brought to the credit union sector. And then from Uber, learning how to scale with speed, but also not only speed but quality and accuracy was really important. So putting that all together, from a fintech, and from a company like Capital One, just gaining experience managing large, complex global operations. So putting that all together is doesn't seem like it
Yeah.
fits, but it was definitely a philosophy that has helped me be successful in the credit union sector.
Yeah, I think, moving out of your, for lack of better words, comfort zone, right? That really teaches you, because moving from operations to scaling operations to learning transformation, that has taught you a lot. And what you're doing at WESCOM right now, WESCOM is a large credit union, right? So leading service delivery is not easy over there. That's a bunch of for sure. Uh, Now talking about the mission and vision of WESCOM, right? So WESCOM emphasizes a lot on helping members bank better. Now that's a very opposite terminology that we use, because credit unions are not banks. But WESCOM talks about helping members bank better. That's interesting. So how do you define banking better in the context of remote service, and what unique strategies does WESCOM employ to deliver best experience in this space?
First thing I'd say at WestCom Financial is we put people over profits, and that aligns with my personal mission. So banking better, means being a full service financial partner for the people across, Southern and Central California. Our mission is to help build better lives for Californians. And, we do this through financial education, superior digital tools, lower loan rates, as well as reduced fees for our members. We serve over 250,000 members across 30 branches in California, and we're committed to making a positive impact in our communities that we serve. And for remote service delivery, we extend all of this value to members wherever they are. So it's important that we're available by phone, chat, video, to help solve financial problems and meet our member needs.
That makes sense. Now, let me go into a question that where I operate. I mean, I do data analytics for a living, right? For the last almost a decade. That's the only thing that I know pretty much, right? I'm a geek. So you're a part of WESCOM's analytics steering committee, right? Is what I know. So what is the vision of the steering committee? One, and second, how are you using data and analytics for better decisioning?
Yeah. So, our goal is to make data-driven decisions. We have a wealth of data, and we have a very talented team that builds systems to gather all of this data. Sometimes the challenge is analyzing that data in a way that can drive our strategy. But what we do is we listen to our members through our satisfaction survey data. We read every comment and categorize member feedback. And that feedback helps us identify pain points to improve our processes. So all of it helps us better serve our members and stay aligned with their needs.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, data can give you strategy, but it has to be driven from the other side, not side from WESCOM to members. It should be members to WESCOM, right? So that's exactly what you're following. Yeah, I mean that's a philosophy which we love hearing. Now, looking ahead, right? What's if I ask you about technology, because you came from a technology background, you came from technology firms, fintechs. You're a huge proponent of technology and fintech because you came from that ecosystem. So what's that one exciting technology, I would say, or idea that you think will be the future of remote banking?
Yeah. Here at Westcom Financial, we have the latest technology for remote banking. We use AI and natural language understanding for our self-service features. And so members can connect with us through phone, chat, video conferencing, mobile, or our online banking tools. So I believe the future of remote banking is really about consultative relationship building. It's about engaging and educating across all generational segments. And really reinforcing that, Westcom is more than just banking. We're a network of people, dedicated to making a positive impact in our communities. And this technology and our commitment to consultative relationship building allows us to be, there for the people we serve when and how they need us.
Yes, sir. That's on the point. I mean, this conversation is so structured. At times, I feel that both of us have decided on what do we want to talk about, but this is just almost impromptu. This is amazing. Uh, Next, what I want to talk about is so what's the most rewarding part of helping WESCOM members through remote service channels? Because out of bunch of channels, I feel the remote service channels are very important because going forward, I think COVID taught us the importance of remote service, the importance of remote work to remote banking to remote everything, right? Unless we step up our game now, it's difficult. You want to shed some light on that?
Yeah, interestingly enough, to your point, I think members or customer bases, they understand, because post COVID, no remote was its own niche, right? And pre COVID, excuse me. So post COVID, it's something that our members now understand, right? Because they may have experienced it themselves, or they know someone that have experienced it. So it's not so nichey as it relates to remote service, right? It's actually, I would say, it's table stakes for large organizations or even small ones at that. What I would say the most rewarding part of helping WESCOM financial members through remote service channels would be, being available, to our members anywhere they are in the world, right? We have over 30,000 members who live outside of our 30 branch network or who have never visited a branch. That's a pretty sizable cohort to our 250,000 member base. And it's rewarding to know that, they can still get the help they need through phone, chat, and video if they move outside of California or if they're living, across the US or somewhere else. It's rewarding to know that they can still get help, right? Through phone, chat, or even a video conference as well, right? And the contact center is the heart of any organization. So being that trusted point of contact for members is what makes the work truly meaningful for me and my team.
Sure. And let me talk about the outlier moment. So I asked this question to all outliers that I think are outliers. Is Hashim, if you were to talk about one outlier moment or one outlier decision that you took in your life that led you to whatever you're doing today, right? Because a series of good and bad decisions make who we are in life. Definitely, both of us have taken good and bad decisions. But what is that one outlier or one life-changing decision that has a huge impact on you right now?
I would say, moving around in my career. I was living in Southern California again. My first job was with a bank. I was there for 10 years. I was living in Southern California, and they had a role for me, in Buffalo, New York. And so I was raised in California my entire life. The outlier decision, I would say, for me, which was a very pivotal point in my career, was moving from Southern California by myself to Buffalo, New York, to work for the company. And not only is the climate different, but the culture is different, the food is different, the experience is different. And it was a great experience, right? But what it taught me was that, I'm able to adapt and navigate in various places with various people. And it helped me to learn skill set and not to be afraid to take on steps and whether it's moving or new role. And with that change, I did take on different roles in other organizations, which allowed me to accumulate a lot of knowledge and skills that I have in my toolbox, in my tool belt. So, I'm able to be use my fungible skills in order to gain success and achieve results, in anything that I do. So yeah, very interesting one.
Yeah, I moved from SoCal to upstate New York. That's pretty much relocating country like me. Wow, that's I didn't know that, by the way, that you are here in New York. I didn't know that. Amazing. I want to ask you one overarching question about credit unions, right? This is not from a remote service delivery perspective, but as a whole, the movement right now, whoever I talk to, people outside credit unions firstly do not know who credit unions are. It takes a while to make them understand what credit unions are. One, and second, people talk about that the movement is going down, there's consolidation, but I believe consolidation is happening for a reason, and it's happening for good. Unless consolidation happens, we won't be able to, for lack of better words, compete with the larger banks who are in our backyard eating our pie every single day, or the fintechs, uh, like equivalents of Rhyme or Revolut. Chime or Revolut, right? So my question is, what do you think is the future of the movement? Where are we heading on to? What are your honest opinion?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think there's two things. The first is, I think that credit unions will be the premier financial institutions in whatever community they serve, right? And that includes physical branches and remote service delivery channels using the latest AI technology. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is I believe that, credit unions will be the trusted, financial literacy experts, educating people to make informed decisions, financial decisions, to better themselves, their families, and their communities. You know,
No, I think that makes sense, Hashim. This is really great. So again, uh, I anticipated for a show within 20 minutes because I wanted to make it like very packed. This was amazing, sir. It was great having you in today's episode. Again, thank you, Hashim, for joining today. We really appreciate it.
thank you, Anurag. It was great speaking with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.